So guys, good luck, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, the Warren County Salary Board meeting to order, May 11th. Stand from the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This meeting is being recorded, and any set meeting part of the public record. Reminder, any personnel related things then should go to executive session, just requested. Minutes from April 13th, if you have a chance to review, and if they need your approval. If yes, please make a motion to approve.
Motion. Second. Third.
Motion made by Durbin, seconded by Munsker. Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. For sworn in services salary increases. This is, let's see, we deferred it from March to April, and I'm sorry, I wasn't at the April meeting, so it wasn't really part of the discussion. I think I did go back and watch the video, so I hope that I'm caught up to speed.
There's two parts. There's one from March to April, and then the one from April that's
That's
also
right.
carrying on. So there's two sets of funding.
Okay. Do you want to walk us through it again?
So the first set of funding is ARPA funding that was provided to the Intellectual Disability Administrative entity in the amount of $52,000. The department received $50,000 for increased functionality that they are responsible for. Some of it is brand new service or functions, some of it is extended functions. Last time Denny asked about what happens with the funding if we don't use it in 1 year. The funding actually goes through the end of March of 2023. That funding is used until it's gone,
Okay.
to the point of when it's taken back. If we don't use it, it'll go elsewhere. So if we go past 1 year, it'll go into the next year.
Okay.
Okay. So I had put in a wage increase for the three positions that are affected by the increase in responsibilities. That would be the program director, which is a program specialist 2, and then there are 2 program specialist 1s. One is a quality manager, and the other is an intake person. So those are the ones that were carried over from March. Each was in the amount of $3,000. I did discuss this with our fiscal department. Once the funding from ARPA is diminished, there is administrative funding available to maintain that raise.
The normal 10% county match or something.
Correct. Yes.
So in effect, would the county be at 10% of the 3,000 then? Or 10% of the total? How does that work?
After the ARPA funding is gone, then yes, the county match would be part of the 9,000 moving forward.
All right.
Do we want to take these as two separate motions, or do we just want to review it all, or what's our thoughts?
If everyone's kind of in agreement to it all, then we just
Okay.
takes one.
Very good.
Okay, then I'll move on. The second funding, if you will, is from the Behavioral Health Alliance of Rural Pennsylvania, which simply put is our subcontractor for our behavioral health services. By taking over the contract, Behavioral Health Alliances is now administrating a, that's still not the right word, is it?
Administrating.
Thank you. A $350 million contract for our behavioral health services. There are 2 positions within Forest Lawn Human Services that are on the board of the BHARP, the Drug and Alcohol Director and the Human Services Administrator. Each of those positions on the board are receiving an additional $30,000 in revenue to supplement their salaries. So the funding that is currently funding those positions will then shift back into their allocated funds or allocated programs. With that comes additional responsibilities with this new contract designation of this $350 million. Some of it is enhanced, some of it is new. I did include some of that information previously in a document. With that, for the drug and alcohol director and the human services administrator, I requested a $5,000 increase out of that $30,000 that would be supplementing their salaries. Also out of that funding, our mental health director was promoted to a mental health director back in 2018. Since then, that person's been maintained at that salary with increases with our annual COLA type thing. Since then, though, we have added forensic case management services. We have also added our administrative case management unit, which is together those are 3 caseworkers and a supervisor. That both of those are quite demanding of her time. And also recently we added a crisis service, which she also monitors. Within those responsibilities, there are services that she's providing that she also can bill to BHARP, which is an additional $32,000 outside of the $30,000 that is being supplemented to the administrator position. So yes, there's theoretically $62,000 additionally coming in for the mental health side. So most of her responsibilities for the mental health director, most of the position responsibilities can be billed to the BHARP administrative funding. At the bottom of the page that I provided, I averaged out the services that she has been able to bill, and it averages about $320 per month. If that continues the way it is, we would need to look at about $1,100 of base funding annually, and that's about $115 for a county match. In talking to our fiscal department, that is money that we do have available. That revenue that she's able to bill does fluctuate. We're learning about our administrative responsibilities still, even though it's been about a year. BHARP is understanding their responsibilities, as is the county's. So, any questions on that? It's very convoluted. It's very challenging.
I appreciate the explanation and the more details. Thank you.
So make a motion to adopt the changes in human services pay as presented.
So that motion would be for ID program specialist 2, increasing $3,000, caseworker supervisor increase $3,000, ID program specialist 1, $3,000, human services administrator $5,000, mental health director $5,000, forgive me, SC.
Single county authority.
Oh, right. That's
Director
all
of
that
drug and
job
alcohol,
description, yeah.
yes, that's the official title.
$5,000.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
So I think that, having been involved in human services, I've seen and heard the increased responsibilities that are being conveyed by this request. It's real. They're, especially on the ID side with the conversations that I've had with them. I mean, they've really been, because it's something that we don't see on a regular basis is the change in regulations, the change in requirements, like they're just having so much piled on to them. So even aside from just trying to, it's never really been our job to look at the individuals that are working these positions, but I would say even in that sense, this is a worthwhile proposal to put forth. But the work that's being conveyed, I think, is definitely real, and that's why I support it. I don't know that it should necessarily be viewed as like a kind of a merit situation, but like the positions themselves have changed. And the funding stream's been identified or is provided in order to supplement, so it's not like the county's gonna have any kind of extravagant need to place of what's being provided.
So, from your comments about the MH director, is that pay been held back? Did I get a sense of that? in
It's
some way?
just, as far as being promoted to the director and then the additional responsibilities, no, it has not been purposely held back.
I mean, I guess not, when you said for a couple of years it was just the cost of living COLA or whatever.
Right,
So I guess what I'm getting at, I don't know the responsibilities of the MH director versus the human services admin or the single county authority, should the mental health be brought up more?
I would never go against providing a position in an agency more money than not. I've never as an administrator, I've never recognized or thought about providing additional funding when additional funding wasn't available to provide. We do now have the opportunity because the administrator's salary and the SCA director's salary is shifting, and funding would become available, more funding would be available to do that if that was recommended.
I mean, on paper, I see this.
understand
I don't
that.
know the workloads and.
The workload has increased significantly for the mental health director with the services that have been added to her workload with the forensic case management, the administrative case management, which are two separate types of services. Along with the forensic case management also came the long-term structured residence facility out of the ACLU lawsuit, which is a placement facility.
So what of the three, did you all get about the same amount of incremental?
No.
Is one
The
more?
mental health director probably took on more responsibility.
I guess what you're saying, it kind of leads me to question, should it be as this or?
My recommendation would be to have a separate discussion about that position, because it is a relatively new position, and I don't know that we've ever, in the same way that we did the HES survey and stuff, done an apples to apples comparison of human services administration to say what that position should be. That said, I will say that's a very specific case that since that position's been created, it's been I don't want to say a catch-all, but it's been more and more hats have been added to it. You're, for instance, on the prison board, and so we have this conversation about mental health in prisons. Where do these people go? How do we get them to Torrance? Yada yada yada. The MH director is the one that oversees all of that, and as we add these forensic positions, managing these people going in and out of jail, the MH director is going to be the one that's going to be doing that. So it's a valuable, I don't want to say it's turned into a valuable post. It was created for a reason, but it's a very vital position. So I think that separately we should have that conversation about that.
Okay, that works.
So we have a motion and a second, we had some discussion.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve the slate already addressed, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Ron. Next, creation of a grant writer position in fiscal / administration department. Lisa.
So wait, really, this is gonna happen? We're gonna talk about it? Like, Danny, pinch me. I don't know if I'm conscious, really.
So after watching Commissioner Eggleston do a lot of grant writing, hearing about the different grants that are out there, many grants available, and multiple conversations, we decided it would be prudent to add a grant writer position in fiscal and administration to do the pre-award grant writing, and then helping the departments manage those grants once they are awarded. I put in the packet a job description that was created for me spending time on the phone with Abby Skinner, who's the City of Erie grant writer, also gathering some information from Erie County's grant writer, and also doing a lot of research on what that salary should look like. So the salary that I'm proposing is council departments' wages in the operational budget. I was hoping that in about a 2-year period, the grant writer could be sooner, but give them 2 years, would be able to pay for their position with the administrative fees that come with many grants, but not all. Questions, thoughts?
So
I think this is the time.
I'll make a motion to adopt the grant writer position as presented with a salary of $65,000.
Second that?
Motion made and seconded.
And I know for us, that seems like a lot, it does, I don't think there's any denying that in the county, generally speaking, but I seriously question our ability to get somebody that's gonna be capable to do the things that we want to do without having to pay at that rate. Like, we've had this conversation for a while about hiring a contract grant writer, and even those contracts probably would be way more than that, to do a handful of federal grants that we wouldn't even know whether we'd be able to get the money back or not. This person could easily coordinate on state grants, foundations, and I have no doubt that they could get the $65,000 back into the county coffers for projects that we already have in the queue. So I think it's time. We've talked about it for years, and
Do you have a sense for like Erie County or other counties more like us are paying for that?
They're a little bit higher, in the 70s.
Okay.
Patty and I talked at length about the contract grant rating. A contract grant writer is getting $12,000, 8 to 12, but she said right now $12,000 for the one federal grant. So this is way more economical than contracting, and there's so many departments that could utilize it as well.
If you get somebody really good, you may need more than one. That's the thing and I think right now, all of this funding is out there for stuff. I mean, think about the ARPA funding at the Commonwealth. I mean, they haven't sent a lot of that out. So, I mean, it's gonna get trickled out, but you're gonna need somebody that's gonna be able to find it and apply for it, that's competent, so.
Would it be possible to share this with the city, this position with the city or other townships that be interested?
About that.
So we
why
could-
would you be asking?
I don't know, I'm just
Curious.
It
seems like such a specific.
sort of Nancy, so she does a lot of grant writing, but
Nancy Freenock herself does.
yeah.
Does she?
Yeah, we did talk about that, and I think it'll be part of an ongoing conversation.
Okay. Perfect.
Not just the city, but I do think we've talked extensively about scope. This would not be for school district, this would not be for economic development, like outside it wouldn't be interfering in WCDA space, that kind of thing. The purpose of this is local government. So yes, county, obviously every department in the county, possibly other municipalities within the county.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it just depends what can come along, right?
Well, and I think that there could be a discussion similar to like the marketing position discussion where there's a split, pot of money, if the city's willing to put something in, I think that they're for a separate, position or another, especially because, I think, like in your case, like with the city having Nancy be the only one that's really writing grants, even if she leaves, or there's some kind of issue, somebody has to monitor those grants beyond when they're even initially approved.
And just finding a grant writer is going to be tough in itself, so
Yeah.
once you have somebody, it'd be nice to be able to utilize that person.
Yep.
If possible.
Other discussion from the board? All right.
Yeah, just a quick question. When would you advertise for this?
Tomorrow.
Okay. Not today. Not today.
Might take me a minute to get the app ready.
Anything else? All right, all those in favor of the single grant
got kidney stones.
It was that painful?
You've only been here for. We had this discussion 5 years ago.
Okay.
Alright, the 911 salary increases are not, it's just going to be tabled indefinitely. That was kind of a mistake to get it on this agenda. And obviously Ken is not here and there is no proposal. I guess just put it on the radar that it's something he will be asking for, but.
To make a motion to adjourn.
Your second?
Trish,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned, 1:40.
What?